of leadership and enjoys helping others to achieve their dreams. I can say for myself, that is true. The relationship me and Wayne have, when I text Wayne and ask Wayne a question, he will respond. And I know there are people here who I also text, it's the same thing. And I know he loves to help people. So let's give a hearty round of applause as we introduce to you Wayne Smalls.
I would like to talk to you this evening about a woman of courage, a woman of power, and a woman of steel. This woman that I want to talk to you about, you wouldn't think that she was so powerful. You wouldn't think that she would command so much respect just by looking at her. She was a very unassuming woman, barely 5 feet tall. And if she smiled at you, what she would reveal to you were her 2 missing teeth in the front, a huge gash on her forehead from a fight that she had obtained when she was a teenager. But it was the year 1857, and the woman that I would like to talk to you about this evening is Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman lived alone. The story was that she was abandoned by her husband when she was 29. In fact, one day she just decided to move out on her own and start on a new mission. Her employment was erratic. Most of the time she took domestic jobs in small hotels, and she worked cleaning, washing dishes, and taking care of other people. When she was present on the job, she was a hard worker. She often exceeded the expectations of her employers. She had the reputation of being someone that you would love to hire, except for one thing. She had a condition that would cause her to fall asleep, oftentimes in the middle of a sentence. And this was due to the wound that she received in her teenage years, as I mentioned before. And I would explain that a little bit more in a minute. But who would respect a woman like that? I'll tell you. Over 300 slaves that she helped to achieve their freedom would attest to the fact that she was a woman of courage, a woman who was a force to be reckoned with, and a woman who demanded respect. While she was in her early 30s, Harriet Tubman also was called Moses. The reason why she got that name was because of the fact that she risked her own life and freedom to help others to achieve their freedom. Tubman started life as a slave. She was born in 1820 and grew up in the farmland of Maryland, which is my hometown. So I definitely have a fondness for the type of woman that she was, not only because she saved slaves, but because she did a lot of that in my hometown. A lot of her origins began right there where I was born. So there's a lot of history that touches me personally. When she was 13, she received a blow to her head that troubled her for the rest of her life. And the situation was she found herself in a store minding her own business. And a slave owner wanted her to help him as he beat another slave. So Harriet Tubman, being the woman that she was like, no, I'm not going to help you do that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to stop you from doing that. Which, as you can imagine, during those times, that was against the law, basically. To do that could easily have been death. But instead, the slave owner decided to throw a 2-pound weight at her head and busted a gash across her head, which almost killed her. But Harriet Tubman, being the strong woman that she was, she survived. Although it did take several months for her to recover. At age 24, she married John Tubman, a free black man. But when she talked to him about helping slaves and leaving her home to go to another place to find a place of refuge for those that she wanted to help. He didn't want to hear that. He was absolutely against that. As a matter of fact, he told her, if you try to leave, I myself will turn you in. Because of that, Harriet Tubman found herself on her own. And she resolved in her own heart that this mission of hers was so important that she would risk her own life without any help to accomplish this mission. And she did that. She was quoted as saying, I had reasoned this out in my mind. There was one of two things I had a right to: liberty or death. If I couldn't have one, I would certainly have the other, she would say. I should fight for my liberty as long as my strength lasted, and when the time came for me to go, the Lord would let them take me. In other words, she felt so strongly about her convictions of what she was trying to do that she really believed in her heart that only God would allow her enemies to prevent her from accomplishing her mission. And that if in some case she was able to be overcome by her enemies, it would be because God allowed that. Imagine the type of resolve that it would take to have that kind of resolution within your own self. And at the same time, if you can imagine, if she had that type of resolve about her own life, she would not hesitate at all about stopping someone else from hindering her from completing her mission. Harriet Tubman was known as a woman of steel. Each summer and winter, Tubman worked as a domestic, as I stated earlier, scraping together the funds she needed to make return trips to the South. So that would imply that Harriet Tubman worked and earned funds for the simple reason of helping other people to take this trek from slavery into freedom. She used her own money to do that. So she was not just a leader that talked about doing something. She actually did it. And not only did she do it, but she used all of the resources in her power to make those things happen. Hers was an extremely dangerous work. And when people in her charge wavered and had second thoughts, again, she was strong as steel. In fact, if she came across a slave who was becoming faint of heart or was second guessing their decision or had a change of mind, she would quickly remind them by stating, "Dead folks tell no tales," as she stuck a loaded gun to their head. You go on or you die. Now, with that type of motivation, it's not hard to see why she never lost a single person. Between 1850 and 1860, Harriet Tubman guided out more than 300 people, including many of her own family members. She made a total of 19 trips in all, and was very proud of that fact that she never lost anyone. "I never ran my train off the track," she would say, "and I never lost a passenger." And at the time, Southern whites put a $12,000 price on her head, which was a fortune during those days. By the start of the Civil War, she had brought more out of slavery than any other American in history, black or white, male or female. Now, fellow Toastmasters, the reason why I picked Harriet Tubman is because, to me, she epitomizes what a leader is and what a leader does. And I just hope that one day I can become a quarter of the leader that she was. And if I do that, I will feel like I have accomplished my goal and my dreams. Now, Toastmasters.